need you to talk about the peculiarity of the home-grown technologies as far as Nigeria is concerned, and some of the challenges that have been associated with that space. You know, he alluded to the fact that we have the right skill, but he was talking about the right environment and the infrastructure. So I would like you to lend your voice to that, to do an assessment of the tech space in Nigeria and some of the challenges that are peculiar to this space.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I think the opportunities in the tech space in Nigeria are enormous. It's vast. Being a practitioner in that space, I've seen so much, and I've been opportuned to be part of a lot of transformational initiatives and programs across the public sector and the private sector. So I know for a fact that the opportunities are enormous. Nigeria is the giant of Africa for so many tangible reasons, and one of it is because of the population and the demographic. We are over 200 million, according to what statistics say. Some people will say, okay, we give or take, we are maybe around 150 million, but that is an enormous market. And because it is an enormous market, there is a lot to be done. There is a lot of problems, and because there are a lot of problems, that means there is a lot of opportunities to tap into, and technology comes into play to be able to help us to be able to do that. So, as an emerging market, the market and potential is huge. Our internet penetration, I looked at it this morning, preparing for this. Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear us, Suleiman? Are you there?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you. If you can hear me, let me know.
I can hear you clearly now. Please go ahead. I can hear you clearly now. Please go ahead. I can hear you clearly now. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, so like I was saying, the population and demographic makes us an enticing market. Our rising internet penetration also. As at this morning, I checked Statista, which is a statistics initiative, and we are about 54% internet penetration. That is huge. 54% of about 200 million people. That is a lot of people with access to broadband. And then so you can imagine what can do in terms of payments, making payments easy. I know for a fact that this government currently is trying to digitize how they run this palliative this palliative program that they're talking about. Technology is going to play a major role in that, in trying to help to probably enroll people into that palliative net, disburse those payments into that palliative net. Technology is going to be a major enabler in doing that. Also, digital transformation, fintech revolutions also have been a major thing in Nigeria. I want to commend those people who are part of that Startup Act that was signed last year. And with that allows and helps the ecosystem to grow and to be more robust. So you have a lot of people who have come together, who are practitioners in that particular space also, who have come together to be able to convey what their challenges are, convey the structures that they need, and government listened, and we were able to sign that particular act last year, and that is a major one for the tech space and for financial inclusion, for the fintech space in general. And of course, as you know, e-commerce and marketplace in Nigeria is also something that is growing at a very rapid state. I know in 2021, Jumia posted an enormous figure in terms of the kind of transactional volumes that they did, and maybe because of COVID, but it begins to unlock and let you see the impact of what technology is doing currently in Nigeria. So there is a lot in terms of the market in Nigeria. Just Nigeria alone, the solutions that we are building and how they are impacting us in agriculture, in health and telemedicine, in edtech, EdTech in 2020, we saw the rise of U lessons and how it is impacting today also from, I think, Sim Shagaya. So these are homegrown solutions that are doing tremendous things. I think today, if I'm not mistaken, the Ministry of Education is on board with this with the ULESM platform, and that is something that is worthy of mention. So these are, in my mind, homegrown solutions that are pioneering, pace setting, and impacting the lives of people in Nigeria.
Solution, because that's the focus, right? An institution, Financial Services Innovators, recently said that they are organizing a hackathon in collaboration with the Nigeria Association of Computing Students to address the dominance of cash transactions within the informal channels in the suburban parts of Nigeria, including university communities. So you see a collaboration between the private sector and, you know, the educational sector. I want you to speak to this.
So I've always been a proponent of the fact that universities and institutions of learning are places where we also need to focus on. Of course, a lot of the people who are setting the technology drives today in Nigeria, of course, most of them are from our universities, from our education in Nigeria. So that's why I was listening to the in-house guest earlier, and was saying, "Oh, our education," and in my own mind, I think our education it's not where it's supposed to be, but for now, it's churning out the best of minds that are doing amazing things. So people like Flutterwave Pioneer, people like Paga, people like Paystack, and so on. So these are people who came out of universities in Nigeria and are doing great and amazing things. So I think also that in a manner of speaking, taking it from the street back to the school, organizing these hackathons, organizing these initiatives in schools, brings it closer to young people, help them to be able to think outside that school curricula that they have. Because part of the things that we faced back in school back in the day, where the fact that the school system was like a cocoon, whereby when you get into university, you are enclosed in that space and you really don't understand what is going on the streets and using that colloquial. So, but now because of what is happening in the tech space and the fintech space, and with these kind of initiatives, they taking it back to schools, it gives students that opportunity to be able to think outside that enclosed environment of school that naturally that a traditional curriculum would not actually give them. But with such hackathons, with such initiatives, that they begin to be able to understand what is needed on the streets, what is needed in the marketplace, and they're able to innovate because these are young people, and innovation is in their DNA. Plus, again, we are Nigerians. Innovation is part of us. So, and doing these kind of things, these kind of initiatives would only keep on to propel those. I think I heard of a story sometime earlier this year. The proponents of this CD Care, the product that allows people to buy now, pay later, save now, pay later. Those young guys, those young cats were from OAU, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it was from a hackathon. I'm not so sure, but these are young people, and while in school, they were able to start building those kind of solutions. So these kind of things, they help. They help young people in schools to think outside the box, understand what is going on, what is the value that needs to be the value needed in the marketplace, and help them to be able to transition properly and align what they are learning into what is needed in the marketplace.
When it comes to the tech space, Nigeria is being referred to as an emerging market. I would like you to talk to us what the government can do to attract, tech investors. You have tech hubs springing up in Nigeria here and there. You are aware of the story or the history of Silicon Valley. Maybe if that could be replicated in Nigeria. So talk to us. What can the government do to attract tech investors?
Great. And that is a fantastic question. And coincidentally, I think the new Minister of Information and Communication Technology will be that person who was in charge of the CC Hub. I think CC Hub has been part of those technology enablers in Lagos and across the country. So having somebody who has played a critical role in developing businesses, fintechs, now being the minister in that particular space is quite the right way to go. So he understands the marketplace, he understands the challenges. So he's able to bring in policy into that particular. So I think for this government, that is a step in the right direction. Also, like I mentioned earlier, the Startup Act that was signed last year is also a step in the right direction. That is how government can bring in this kind of thing. And you mentioned Silicon Valley. Part of the major things that drove Silicon Valley, if I'm not mistaken, was I think there is a bank that probably the Silicon Bank or what it's called, and that was an enabler in terms of funding and financing for most of these projects. In Silicon Valley, these things are called experiments because that's how they are. So they're experiments, you go into the market, test out different ideas, and so on and so forth. And you need people who understand that space, people who understand that these are experiments that they could fail or they could take time, and so on and so forth. So with this kind of person as minister who understand that particular ecosystem, then we can begin to also improve those kind of startup acts. We can begin to there can be synergy and collaborations with financial institutions who are able to understand and even institutional investors, venture capitalists who are able to know that, okay, this is not buying land and making profits in the next 1 year because it will double and so on and so forth. And that there are risks involved. These are experiments, and they are experiments that are always in the right direction. So these are some of the things that government can do going forward with what they've done so far to be able to support the ecosystem. There's so much to be done. Like I mentioned, so we are 54% in terms of internet penetration. I would believe that for this new government, raising the bar to like maybe 90% in the next 4 years will be something that will be cataclysmic for us, because imagine 90% of Nigerians having access to the internet. That will be huge in terms of how you reach people with services that are going to transform their lives. I also know that there is a rapid because I was at an event on Saturday. I was at the event of the NIMSI, the Nigerian Identity Management Commission, on Saturday during the Identity Day. And I know that the government is also driving identity, trying to capture and bring in everybody into that identity net, because those are the basics for development. Those are the basics for economic growth. Because when you know the identity of your people, you know how to plan for them. And technology is at the forefront helping to do this. So these are how government also would help to be able to do this by also digitizing their efforts also. In doing this, there will now be strong collaborations with the private sector, with the fintech platform, to be able to bring in their knowledge and their know-how to help power their policies.
A lot needs to be done in this sector. You also said a lot has been achieved when it comes to innovations in Nigeria. So would you say that Nigeria's technology is mature enough to be exported?
I want to believe so, because today I know that products like Send from Flutterwave, products like Bata from Flutterwave, so most of these products are already cross border. So, and these are Nigerian innovations, So and they are doing amazing outside Nigeria, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Egypt, and the like. So I would like to say that our homegrown products in the software tech space are are mature enough to move over because of these products are already doing that. So I would like to see more of our agrotech products also cross over from Nigeria into the West African space, because we have a lot of arable land and so on and so forth in West Africa. So I would like to see our telemedicine, some of the things that we're doing to cross over also. And believe it or not, Nigeria is a test bed for innovation and development in West Africa, even with the developmental economics, developmental space. I've worked with international agencies in Nigeria around birth registration, capturing births, and so on and so forth. And technology is powering this. And the thing about it is that whatever kind of technology that works in Nigeria, it is easier to replicate in most other African countries because of the diverse nature that exists in Nigeria, because of the challenges that exist in Nigeria. So we are able to properly deploy technology to solve solutions in Nigeria. It becomes easier to be able to replicate it, because now you now have the data, you now have the insights, you now have the things that you see that works, and it becomes easier to be able to deploy them in other African countries because they are smaller and it will be faster and things like that. So yes, I believe that our technology is matured right now, and we've already seen export of our products into other African countries. And yeah, I believe so.